really, really nasty, cold, wet, chilly day. And cold, wet, chilly days require soup. This one is a corn and vegetable bean and bacon, which is pretty doggone good. And today it's going to be a soup and bread day. I'm going to be doing a whole grain soda bread. This is an experiment. My sister is the absolute queen of soup. I was going up to see her in North Carolina for the first time, and I had just driven about 3 hours and got to her house, and she had a pot of this soup on the stove, and it was absolutely the best stuff ever. I don't know if that's because I was just so glad to be out of that car. Could be a little bit of it, but the soup was awfully good. And it comes together in just a couple minutes, and it is fabulous. So let's get cooking. I hope the bread works, and I know you're gonna love the soup. So let's see what we can get cooking. We're gonna start with the bread. So yesterday, I started off with oats and raisins and some lemon zest, lemon juice, and some milk. And it told me to put that in the refrigerator overnight, so I didn't think y'all wanted to hang out overnight. So I did that. It's ready. So now we're gonna mix that with 125 grams of whole wheat flour, 125. So we're gonna do that, and then 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda, which does not sound like a whole lot, but with soda bread, that's why it's kind of magic. You don't need yeast or any of that, and the Irish figured this out, so we shall give this a whirl and see what it does. We're gonna mix that together. And now we're going to add the oats and raisins and lemon and milk and all of this that's nicely come together and softened. So we're going to give this a whirl. Now, this is a David Lebowitz recipe, and everything I've ever done of his has been amazing. So we're going to mix this together. He did say we might need a little more milk. And from the look of it, I think he's right. But we'll get this all mushed in here together. And I think hands are going to be the way to go. And he said he used about a tablespoon more milk, and I'm thinking he's probably pretty much right on that. There we go. We'll see. Oh, that's much better. And we're starting to get a little sticky. I actually think I may put in just a little splash more. I just don't think it's going to hurt. And I think that'll help us come together. So we're going to dump this over. I've got this wonderful, great big Silpat that Peter gave me years ago. And when he gave it to me, I didn't think I'd ever use it. And it's probably one of my favorite things in my kitchen. So we have one kind of nice little loaf of bread, and we're going to pop this into a 400-degree oven there, and we'll put a couple of slices in the top for vents, and I think we're going to have a nice little loaf of bread going. At least I hope so. So let's pop it in and see what it does. And we'll be back in about 20-25 minutes. Now, for my sister's soup, we're going to start off with 2 carrots, 2 or this is actually 3, but it's really kind of 2 stalks of celery, 2 ears of corn, and 1 small onion. And we're going to chop these up, and then we're going to cut 3 or 4 pieces of bacon into lardons, which are just kind of 1 joint of your little finger. We'll get that bacon going and get some nice bacon fat and crisp that up. Then we're going to add veggies, and we'll have soup before we know it. So we've got veggies cut up and bacon and lardons, so we're ready to start cooking. One thing, I don't know if she used fresh corn just because she was in the mountains and they have the most beautiful fresh corn in the world, but I think frozen corn absolutely is going to be a great shortcut. So we'll turn around to the stove and start frying up some bacon and get some good bacon grease. So we're going to start off with the bacon and pop that in. We're going to get this nice and crisp. Now, the bacon is rendered really nicely and is looking gorgeous. However, I used thick cut apple wood and it's absolutely beautiful bacon. I've got more bacon grease than I think I want. So I'm going to drain some of this out. In a perfect world, I think I'm going to leave about a tablespoon still in the pot for the veggies. The nice thing is I can always add it. It's a little hard to take it out once you've started adding other things. So we're just going to drain some of this. And we'll just keep this in case we need it. So now we're going to add the carrots, celery, and onions and saute those until they're nice and translucent. Carrots. And notice I did not say corn. We're going to wait for the corn for a little bit later. So we will let that get all cozy with the bacon and the bacon grease. And we're going to have soup before we know it. The veggies are nicely translucent now, and I must admit I did add about another half tablespoon to a tablespoon of the bacon fat just to help them saute. But they are looking and smelling wonderful. So now we're going to add the corn and let that saute for a couple of minutes. And give that just a couple of minutes. My sister turns this into a really wonderful creamy soup, but she doesn't add any dairy. There's no cream in it. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with about 1.5 cups of chicken stock. And now what we're going to do to turn this into a wonderful creamy soup is I have a can of cannellini beans that I have rinsed and drained. And we're now just going to pop those into the chicken stock. One of my favorite things is an immersion blender because it does everything you want and it's compact. I do prefer the ones with a cord. I've had cordless, and cordless just didn't last. But this one has been going strong for a long time. So we're going to just give this a whir. We now have the cream base for this soup. So we're going to pop this in. And we'll let it cook down just a little bit. And we're going to add about 1/2 teaspoon of tarragon. Actually, we're going to add a little more than that. We'll do 1.5 teaspoons, which is 1/2 tablespoon. It's about like that. And then salt and pepper, and we have soup. We actually have really pretty wonderful soup too. Hit it with some salt. I'm not gonna overdo the salt simply because we've got that wonderful bacon in there. And I think that's gonna do a lot of the salt for us. But we will do a nice, healthy, about a nice big fat pinch of pepper. And we have soup for a wonderful rainy day. Okay, our bread's out of the oven. We're gonna check and see how our experiment worked. And sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. So let's see how we're doing. It looks pretty promising. So, that definitely worked. So, we're gonna do that. Let me grab a ladle here. A little bread and a little soup, maybe just the way to take care of this cold, wet, rainy day. Hope you all are doing well. Hope this becomes something you give a whirl during the winter time. It's rather comforting and wonderful. So, happiest of holidays to you, and do give this a whirl. It's fun. Bye-bye.